We're back with another episode of Thoughts for a Penny. I have Brendon Fellows here with me, and I've known Brendon for a few years now through mutual friends, born in Colorado, who was a former podcast guest. Wanted to have Brendon on here to talk about kind of his journey in the fitness world and learn a little bit more about him and kind of what drives him to be successful and what keeps him going day by day. So, Brendon, thanks for joining us. To kind of start things off, why don't you give us a quick background about, who you are, where you're from, if you want to get into your upbringing, things like that.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm excited. This is actually the first podcast I've ever done, so a little nervous right now, but I guess hopefully I'll get over that. But yeah, man. So I've moved out here, grew up in Southern California, in the South Bay area, and then moved out to Orange County. Started going to all those country music bars, and that's actually how I ended up meeting Boris. We were line dancing and just kind of being a bunch of rowdy kids at 21, 22 years old. So unfortunately, I got to meet you. So I'm definitely excited to be doing this. So I guess about me, yeah. So again, I was from California, but then about 2018, I moved over to Austin, Texas to kind of continue to pursue my career in fitness, because where I was at in California was super competitive, and everything there, just the region I was in, I was at Orange Theory. I was a coach there for 5 years. I started in about early 2016. And then I'm actually now, I think 5 years was February. So I've been doing that for a while, but did that in college to kind of get me through. I got my degree in exercise science, went to Orange Coast College, and then finished out in Cal State Fullerton. Working towards that, has been fun. Haven't finished the degree, so I'm still working towards that. I think I'm going to do something online, but got like my last, I think I have like 8 credits to go. So that's something that's like a bucket list I need to just check off and get done with, because it's just been haunting me. Fortunately, though, I've been in lucky enough positions to where my degree hasn't been something that's big of an issue. It's more of my knowledge and passion has given me so much opportunity in my life. And that's kind of how it started with Orange Theory. Didn't really have my degree yet, and I just kind of was like, this is fun. Like, let me give it a shot. Actually, I don't know if you know who Buddy Hammond is, but he's somebody that I've like kind of looked up to in the fitness industry, because he was the first one to do it, and I saw him posting on social media so much. I was like, oh my God, Orange Theory looks like so much fun. And at the time, I had just gone into working out I really got into it because I loved the way it made me feel, right? I loved how it gave me that confidence, and I didn't feel like, like I was, I don't know, just like I had that, it gave me more of this boost. I didn't feel like a wimp, I guess you could say. And I don't know if that's the right word, but I just didn't feel like, I was strong. I wasn't overweight by any means, but I was like not in shape at all. So I just had confidence issues, talking to girls or just carrying relationships with friends and stuff like that. And then I really got into it, and then I started to see results because I was consistent with it. And I had a friend that would push me to go, and he would always be like, you got to go. And eventually, after him pushing me so much, I was the one telling him, hey, let's go, let's not miss. And I just kind of fell in love with the routine and how, there was few things in your life, that you can control. There's a lot of like circumstances that can change on you, COVID virus, right? Like there's things that sometimes you can't necessarily control or predict.
Mm-hmm.
But what you do and how you treat your body is one thing, right? Like you can control your exercise, you can control what you put into your body, like the food you eat, the liquids you drink. And that control made me feel good, right? It gave me that like sense of like, okay, I can do something, and rather than feeling helpless, because that's kind of how I was when I wasn't working out. And I just like, when you're not exercising, you're not using your body, that anxiety starts to build, right? And then it manifests itself in other ways. And it can be alcohol abuse, it can be overeating, right? That anxiety that you get. And I think, humans are like batteries. You got to like drain some of that energy sometimes. You got to and that's going to help you. I feel like I'm a nicer person when I work out. Like I completely tell that I'm more level headed. I'm more engaged in conversation. Like when I'm like haven't worked out and I can feel like I need that, there's like that sometimes you just feel the need, like I got to get this energy out. Maybe it was a bad day, maybe it was just like one thing that happened, I don't know, whatever it is. Sometimes you just need that release, and from that exercise and lifting something heavy or slamming a medicine ball on the ground really hard can kind of give you that frustration release. So that's kind of, it was like I just enjoyed how it made me feel, right? And then I saw how fun it was to be an Orange Theory coach, because in California I worked at the Corona Del Mar studio. I helped open that gym, and it was so much fun to be there, and I saw so many people make great results. I was coach there for a year and a half, and that's just really, I fell in love with coaching, right? And seeing how people can evolve, and then how they feel when they see those results, and it makes them feel like how I felt, and I know how good it feels to feel better and like look in the mirror and be like, I'm happy with what I see, right? And then that consistent looking in the mirror and changing your mindset, it's just like a snowball effect, right? Like you look in the mirror and you think to yourself like every day, man, I look good. Eventually you're going to believe it, right? Like but people can do that in the negative just as easy, right? People can look in the mirror, oh, I'm terrible, I'm this, I'm that, and you're going to believe those words. And so eventually, if you start to do enough things, you start to make the right choices. And if I'm your coach, I'm going to start telling you, like, look in the mirror and change how you think, right? Look in the mirror. It's not I hate my body, it's I love my body. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I work out. That's why I eat healthy, because I love my body, not because I hate it. I want to change it. I want to nurture what I have. And that was like the message that I would bring to these classes. And I would always push that change your mind and change how you feel about exercise, change how you look at yourself first. And then everything else becomes easier, because you're not doing it out of spite, you're doing it out of love. And that's passion, right? And I think you'll stick with something more when you're more committed and you understand the why, and you learn to love the process and not try to chase these benign goals, these random goals that are always should be ever changing, but they never really are. Like when people set goals, they're never really like identifying that goal and like what's the nuances behind it, right? It's not just like I want to lose 10 pounds, but like that's just like saying I want to go to California and I'm just going to start driving east or west, right? And hope to God I can get there, right? Like you have like if I don't have a roadmap, if I don't have some sort of idea of where I'm going, right? And so that's something, again, I'm always trying to push into my classes, and these just like, this, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Why do you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a workout? Why do you do it? You could sleep in, and if you can understand the why, you're like, they would stay with it more and more. And I would see people like this one guy named Bruce, I can't remember his last name, but when he was a member at the Corona Del Mar studio that we opened, I remember, and again, I'm a green-eared coach, so I don't really know much anything. And so I'm just trying to be as helpful, and I'm like going through school and I'm learning all this stuff while I'm coaching. So it was a lot, but just doing the best I can. And this guy was just like, anytime he would be walking, he was an overweight, older man. He was probably in his mid-60s, but he would just like, he was so consistent. And he would be on the treadmill going 3 miles an hour at 3% incline, and his heart rate would be at like 170 beats per minute, right? Like red zone, like as high as like 80, 90, 95% plus of his max heart rate, right? And after a year and a half, the guy would come like 3 to 4 days a week, and he would come with his wife, and they would week after week, you would just see this guy, and he was so consistent, so committed, did every single weight loss challenge, transformation challenge that they offered. And then a year and a half later, he was like a and he would be running and like lost like upwards of, I think, 65 pounds or something like that. And that for me was kind of like the switch. And I was like, okay, this is like that story and how and it was the conversation that we had, because I left and I went to Austin and we had this conversation, and he's like, I just want to thank you for, giving me the motivation and always believing in me and pushing me, and always like the message that you say and that like helped me. And then there's so that, again, that was just something that, for me, it was that kind of I don't know, locked it in. I was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
my why, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing that change for people was kind of mine. And then came out here, and that's when I really started hammering it. Unfortunately, the company that owns the Orange Theories out here is not like the one that owns them in California. It's a franchise business. So the ownership group was, it's just different. And it's not that it's bad, because in fact, it's great. I learned so much from them. It's very sales heavy, right? They love to push sales here,
Right.
which is they're trying to run a business, and they're trying to run a successful business, right? And everything they've taught me, I'm now applying to my own, right? And at the time when I was there at the company, or with the company more when I was a head coach, I resented it because I didn't understand the why. I didn't understand, like, this is like, it was never communicated in a way they were like, hey, what we're teaching you is going to be applicable to your own business one day.
Right.
Their thought was, hey, learn this so you can run your studio better. Learn this so you can be a better minion of the machine. Like, it was never like, there was never this like thought of betterment for you as a person. It was like, how can you make Orange Theory better?
Right.
It was never like, how can we make you better as a person?
Yeah.
It was like, how, and so that lack of investment in your employees just shows. And so the turnover was really high. And, and then, COVID happening and everything like that, a lot of really key people that I looked up to, that I trusted, left the company as well, which was very unfortunate. And just with it all, there was, a bunch of things that did happen that I really won't go into, but, for what it was ultimately for the best that I stepped down from the head coaching role, because my passion wasn't there. It wasn't, I didn't want to do it for Orange Theory anymore. I wanted to do it for myself, because I felt like I had all these ideas that I would say, and people would just kind of brush it off like, that's not the Orange Theory way, right? It's too corporate. If you want to do it, everyone has to do it. And if you want to do it your way, you have to figure out how you can incorporate it for every single student. I'm like, dude, that's way too much work. I'm not going to sit here and figure out one process for all 70 of your studios when I'm only going to get paid an extra $250 a month. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't worth it for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. So then, I stepped back from the role. I let this other girl, who's phenomenal. She's doing an amazing job now. But then I reached out to East Austin Athletic Club, and they were a gym locally. I met their head coach years past when I came back to Orange Theory. I took a little break from Orange Theory to do my own personal training. I just wasn't ready for it. But then I came back. That's when I met Tony. Tony helped me come back to East Austin, and I started training my clients there. And that was really all I was doing, paying rent, training my clients. And eventually I loved the community. I loved the facility was really good. And I just wanted to be a part of it. And I met the owners one day, and, we were talking, and she was like, yeah, why don't you come down and like have a meeting? So I sat down with all of the owners, and it's 4 of them, it's 2 couples. And we just started talking and sharing ideas, and they told me their story and why they opened the gym. And they're like, we opened this so that we can create a space for other trainers to be able to blossom and change, and, grow their own business. And, in that sense, so everything they do and all the decisions that they've made has been in the mind of the trainer and the member, and not necessarily like, how is this going to make us the most money, but how can we, and that can be bad, right? Because if you're not always trying to make money, like, there's not going to be a place for people to go. So anyways, sorry, I'm being long-winded. But
I was going to say, I didn't know that you also knew Buddy. I met him through Boris as well, and actually went to he was doing like fitness boot camp type of things, like at a local elementary school or something like that. And I think I went just kind of not really expecting much, like, oh, this is going to be like a sissy workout, and actually a really good workout. And I checked him out on Instagram and what he's doing, and he's like super high energy, and he's ripped up and the whole nine. So pretty interesting to hear that you know him also. And are
you training with him?
The role that fitness plays in your life, where if you're working out, you're active, you feel good, your mindset is there. I'm like, if if I go 3, 4, 5 days or a week of, I'm not eating good, I'm not working out, I can tell, my patience isn't there, my positivity isn't there, just my overall approach to the day. It's not there. I'm not as sharp. I make maybe worse decisions when I'm eating because I'm like, I'm not working out right now anyway, so I might as well get my money's worth. Get back to it next week. So totally agree with you on that. I was curious to kind of take it back. Pre-college, and I guess, did you always have an interest in fitness, or were you always active? I know you're pretty interested in Kings, NHL team, and the Dodgers. I mean, did you grow up playing sports or doing anything physical like that?
Yeah, I did. I grew up, actually, my first sport that I was playing was soccer. That's what I first really started playing, like any kind of team sport. But I was never really good at it. Tried t-ball when I was a kid, and I was really bad. So it's surprising that I'm a huge baseball fan because I never played baseball. I mean, I went to the batting cages a few times, got hit in the hands with the ball, and I was like, "We're good," Like, I'm just not a baseball player. But I did play football, and that was like my sport. I played, like, fortunately, my parents wouldn't let me play tackle, so I played flag football. And then I finally went to high school, and then I was on the high school football team. I was kind of always just an player. I was never really good. Not that, and I think it was just because the school that I was going to was like this, like, it's just a public. Torrance High School is not a football. It's not a sports school really in general. Like, we had, like, to put this in context, our best sport was our girls golf team. And I'm not kidding you. 2010 girls golf team won, like, the CIF championship.
Wow.
Other than that, like, we had like, our football team was 2-8. So we were, like, just awful. Right. And then even then, like, I would fight. So my really passion for fitness started out after high school and after anything. I wanted to be a police officer, actually, growing up. I was a police explorer for Manhattan Beach Police Department for like 3 years. I was 18, 19, 20, and then, like, right when I turned 21. And that's awesome. Another crazy story too. But yeah, I wanted to be a cop for a long time.
That's cool, man. I had no idea. Was there anything that, I guess, deterred you from continuing down that path, or were you just kind of interested in other opportunities?
Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's so strict, and I think, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I believe God had a different plan for me. I don't believe that that was my path in life. I think that everything that's happened in my life has led me to where I'm supposed to be. I'm 100% confident in that. Being a police officer and trying to go down that path was always so difficult. It was never something, like, everything that I'm doing now has been so effortless. Like, the doors have been wide open. All I've had to do is push the door open, right? How it felt with the police, it was like running in and like shoulder slamming it and not budging, and it's just like, it was such a fight to go to the next step, and the only thing that was easy was becoming a police explorer, right? That was the only thing that was easy. I loved that. That was super fun. But then, like, my whole path was just always it just never was. I don't think it was ever meant to work out.
Yeah.
What happened was I smoked weed before I became an explorer. Like, 17 years old, I was, like, smoking weed a little occasionally here and there. When I wanted to become a police explorer, I lied about it on my application because I thought they wouldn't take me. So then flash forward 2 years later, I'm going to be a cadet, which is the paid version of an explorer, doing the legit same thing. I put on my personal history statement, that I smoked weed, because I forgot on my Explorer app that I lied. So they looked at both applications and were like, "Oh, you didn't smoke here, but you smoked here." So they're like, "Well, you smoked weed while you were a, police explorer, and that's not okay. Like, you're a kid, you're underage." You know what I mean? So they tried to kick me out of the Explorers. Fortunately, my captain was, like, nice enough to keep me on. So that should have been red flag number one, right? That should have been like, "Brendon, just throw in the towel. This isn't it for you," right? But I was like, "No, I want to do this." So then I again applied to be a jailer for and so I was in like hot water. They're like, if anything happens again, you're out. And then I applied to be a jailer for a different police department, and they had me go on a lie detector test. And I was so nervous on the test that I remember like almost blacking out. I was like, and my anxiety was like through the roof because I had so much guilt for this like smoking weed that it was like festering in like this anxiety. So I obviously failed the polygraph because my heart rate's like exploding. And then right after that, they kicked me out. Then they're like, you're done. You're not an explorer anymore. Yeah. And then I put like a couple of years behind me, and I was just waiting tables and just like not going to school, not doing anything. And then I tried to become a police officer in Riverside County, and I just didn't want to. They were like, yeah, if you get through, you're going to be in Blythe. And I was like, I don't want to fucking be a police officer in Blythe. Like, are you kidding me? So I was like, I'm just not. So this isn't for me. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go back to school. I did exercise. I did mechanical engineering was my major. Yeah. And then I had to take an exercise class or like a human biology or like a science class of something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, for my general ed. And then I was like, all right, I'll take kinesiology because I was like working out, starting to work out a little bit. And then I just loved it. I had a teacher that was just so amazing, and he was actually, believe it or not, the athletic trainer for the Ducks when they won the Stanley Cup. Cool. So he had done it for he was like the team's first, or one of them, Mr. G, I can't remember his name, Dr. G, something, I can't remember his name, but Guido, yeah, Dr. Guido was his name. But he was awesome, and he was like, just would share these stories, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be an athletic trainer, and that's kind of how it started. And then I saw that Buddy got a degree in exercise physiology, and then he was doing Orange Theory, and then I was like, I want to do Orange Theory, and then the rest.
That's cool. That's awesome. Man. Yeah, I didn't know all that, and it's kind of interesting how you keep showing up day after day, things work out the way that they're supposed to be, and I see you and on Instagram and all your posts, and you're training every day and working with clients and doing what you love. So it's awesome to see how everything kind of worked out for you. I was curious. You started at Orange Theory in California, moved to Texas. How did you originally get into Orange Theory? You saw Buddy doing it, and then did you just contact like a local fitness studio, or how did that whole introduction happen?
So I reached out. I would go on Indeed, and I saw that the Newport Beach studio was hiring for sales associates. So I didn't know what the position was at the time. And I was like, I'll just go in and apply. Maybe I can start foot in the door, right? Going to school. I was like, at least I'll start as a sales associate. And then when I get my degree, I can become a coach. And I went in and I took a class. So I applied, and then I believe I got a phone call, or I think I called because I was like really into it. So I called the studio, and they were like, oh, you applied? Why don't you come in and take a class? Like the girl on the phone. And I was like, sure, I'll come take a class. And I was like, which one should I take? And she's like, you should talk to Corey because he's like the head coach, regional guy. And he's coaching at like 11 a.m. And I was like, perfect, I can be there. So I went and I took the class, and I met Corey. I came a little early. He showed me that, he took me through the intro process and everything like that. And then he's like, why are you here? And I was like, oh, I actually applied to be a sales associate. And he's like, and I had been working out now at this point for like over a year pretty consistently. So I was like in pretty good shape at the time. Like, I was like benching a lot and, doing a lot of heavy lifting and stuff with Austin Fraker, of all people, I don't know if you know him or not. But anyways, so he's like, yeah, you want to be a sales associate? He's like, well, actually we filled the position. He's like, but why don't you apply to be a coach? We're actually opening a studio soon in a couple of months, and we're going to need coaches for it. And I was like, sure, why not? And he's like, I was like, I had just changed my major over to kinesiology. So he was like, yeah, why don't you give it a shot? So I took the class. I was like, worked super hard. Like I killed myself. I think I got like 40 something splat points, right? Which is like insane. That's like every minute you're in the orange or the red zone, you get one splat point. So for, 2/3 of the workout, I'm like in the orange or red the whole time. So I was just like dying. I think I burned like 1,000 calories. And so anyways, he was like, dude, you come back. He's like, definitely come back. So I did this open mic, and I was so nervous. I don't even remember like what it was. Like, I don't even remember what I said. I know that I demoed pull-ups, which was a terrible idea, TRX chest press, and like body weight squats. Pull-ups is like such a complicated exercise, and I don't know why I picked it. I was like trying to be cool or whatever. But anyways, the coach that he showed me, he helped me, like one of the coaches at the studio, his name was James. He helped me get ready for it. So I took one of his classes, and then I stayed after with him, and I like did the exercises, and he helped me with everything. So James Roberts, he was really cool. He was one of my favorite coaches. But anyways,
is the open mic just kind of like it's like a trial? Like,
exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. You just, there's like a bunch of people in a room, all the head coaches, all of the studio managers, all of the owners in the area are all there, because the regional guy puts it on. The regional fitness director, he puts it on for all the studios in like a certain mile radius.
Yeah.
So they all go to that one. So there was like a ton of people there. And it's funny because so I was waiting tables at this restaurant called The Dock in Newport Beach. And I was waiting tables for this guy, and he comes in, and him and his wife, they come in, and his wife is wearing an Orange Theory jacket. She's wearing like a little zip up. And this is like after I had taken the class, and I just applied for the position, and I was like going to the open mic. I hadn't gone yet. And they come in, this couple comes in, they sit down, and it's brunch. So I'm serving them. And then like halfway through brunch, I asked her about her jacket. I'm like, hey, what do you do about Orange Theory? Do you go? And she's like, oh, and then like she stops her. And he goes, what do you know about Orange Theory? And the guy, the husband. And I was like, I just applied to be a coach for the studio over here. And like, I applied to be a coach, and I have an open mic on this day. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. I actually own the studio in Huntington Beach. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, I own the one on, I think it's like Adams. I think it's that name. I can't remember. It's not Beach Boulevard. It's the one that runs Parallel. I can't remember the name, but anyways, he owned that studio. So I came and took one of his classes took a class with him, and he gave me a book that was like the push book, and he's like, this is for you, have it, it's free. And he's like, read it and then do the open mic. So I read it, and it was a pretty good book. It just talked about like Ellen Latham's journey and how she started Orange Theory, and it started, as Ellen's ultimate workout, and it evolved into Orange Theory. And then the open mic, I kind of used that to my advantage. I was like, yeah, I read the book and I believe in it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, I faked it till I made it, and they loved me, and I got the offer to open that studio in Corona del Mar, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's interesting to hear personally, because what I do for my career is interview and recruiting, and the hiring process, right? So it's kind of interesting to hear your experience going through the hiring process for a fitness studio. And the open mic, that was kind of like your interview. You had and you did you signed up for the class, you had that discussion, and then next thing you know, you're doing the open mic thing. You meet this guy at brunch, and gives you the book, and it's kind of interesting.
It's crazy.
Wanted to ask you about kind of what you're doing now. And I can't remember if this is what you're doing 100% of the time, or if you're, also doing training for other studios. But, I've been following you in your journey, and, you started Brendon Fellows. And from what I can tell, it's your own kind of personal training, business. So I guess talk to us a little bit about, Brendon Fellows and in anything else that you're, working on fitness wise.
Yeah, so Brendon Fellows has been kind of my passion project for the last couple of months, and something that I'm going to continue on with for the rest of my life. I have a really good group. So right now I use it as a platform to train one-on-one clients. Have right now, I just starting out. I think I have 18 clients right now. Most of them are one-on-one clients. 6 of them are like in this small group that I have. And so everyone takes a workout. I put them on Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday, it's like in the evenings. Saturdays, I have them in the mornings over at the club. And it's, I split them up. I have like a lower body, upper body, total body kind of routine, and it rotates 3 days a week like that. or 6 days a week like that. And it's really cool to see the results that they're getting. I've built a really, really tight knit community. They're super fun. We go get happy hours after every once a month. And it builds that community. And so when I left on vacation this past weekend, they're all working out together, even though I wasn't there. But I had the workouts for them to do, and they went and did them without me being there. And that was something that was really cool. And so that's been my passion project. That's something that I really love doing. I love creating programs for people that, have special things that they're trying to accomplish, right? Like not everybody's the same. If you approach every situation like you're a hammer and it's a nail, right? But sometimes that's not what it requires. Sometimes, one program isn't good for everybody.
Right.
And so I like to create a program that's going to help somebody with their issue, right? Like I have one guy right now that he has a really bad right shoulder. So the exercises that he does for his upper body are super minimalistic, all about stability and working and trying to get some range of motion back into that shoulder in a way that's safe, and not just having him do shoulder press. You know what I mean? Like that's going to hurt himself, right? He's not even doing anything overhead. It's all push and pull right now to get blood flow to the area. And then I have another person that's a girl that wants to work on building her glutes and she wants that Instagram body. And so I'm building a program for her. And it's, and some people would say, lean into your niche and find, what you want to do. Like find that, if you want to train older people, then do that. If you want to train, girls that want to get big butts, then do that. Right. But, sure, that's fine. But I feel like I'm plenty capable of being able to design a program for anybody, regardless of what they want. Like I've put hours and hours and hours into learning more and to build my knowledge and learn from other people. And I've learned from so many great mentors and there's different types of programming that I've learned and over the years, and just especially with coronavirus and that shutdown gave me so much free time to focus on my studies and furthering my education. And to me, it's almost like solving a Rubik's Cube or solving a puzzle for every single person, right? I love that. Some people hate that. Some people hate writing programs. They think it's the most boring part, and it's, I just want to do the training, which I like to do that programming part. It's like an alchemist, right? Like you're making something, and that's how I feel about it. It's fun for me. I like you give me, what do you want to do? Like there's the questions that I ask, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? What's realistic? And then after I take you through kind of like a consultation, an assessment period, then like I can see, okay, this is what is going to help you best. And here, let me write this workout that's going to be based on it. It's going to take a long time, but it's still like, for me, it's fun.
Yeah. It's probably a rewarding feeling too, when you have a client that listens, follows your direction, week by week, session by session, and then you can kind of see the progress as their coach. I had a previous guest on who's a head coach at Huntington Beach High School, believe it or not. And we talked about how, part of the satisfaction of coaching is, seeing the progress, seeing people develop and achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And, you talked about Fit by Fellows being kind of like a passion project. I mean, is there anything that kind of led you to, started this thing? Were you bored? Did you have extra time? Did you think like, I want 5 or 10 years and this is it? What kind of led you down that path?
So stepping down from Orange Theory was because as a head coach, I wasn't, or as not a head coach, as just a regular coach, I wasn't making enough money. I had head coach bills, but I wasn't making head coach money anymore. So I was like, well, I need money now. And so I had one client that I was training, and I was like, okay, well, I can find a space for training him. And then, after stepping down, I had built such a relationship with a lot of these members at the studio that they were like, where are you going? What are you doing? And why are you stepping down? And I was always just like, well, I'm going to start pursuing my own thing again. And I think that's really what I want to be doing. I want to be, and at the end of the day, I've always wanted to be a gym owner. Like that's been my ultimate goal, is to become an owner of a gym. I've never wanted to be an Orange Theory head coach. I never really wanted to even work for Orange Theory beyond, like, I just didn't know what I was really doing, right? I was just treading water. I was like, again, another stalemate and just a stagnant point in my life. And then I was just like, this stepping down, this that moment just changed everything. It forced me out of my comfort zone, and it pushed me into like, okay, now you got to figure out your shit. You got to pay the bills. How are you going to do it? Right? You have this skill. You can motivate, you can coach, you know how to write programs. So now it's time to apply it. And that's kind of what I did. And I took all of that knowledge for my fitness, and then I took the knowledge that Orange Theory taught me with the business side of it and the sales, the P&Ls of a business, that I was like, okay, now I'm comfortable with running my own. I feel more mature. I've like managed this gym for the last year and a half. I've learned so much. Now I'm ready to do this on my own. Like it's time. Like it was time to just like, the big man upstairs was like, I'm going to do it for you because you're not doing it anymore. I'm going to do it for you. And I finally was forced to step down, and then I just, it was the best decision and the best thing that ever happened. And and so then again went into East Austin Athletic Club, fell in love with that place, and fell in love with the owners, and they are like, everything that you want to do for your business, why don't you do that here? Why don't you do this here? So they turned me into the director of operations for that gym. And that's so awesome. While I'm going to be managing this club and running this club a little bit, I'm going to be then also, building my business and doing that as well. And so, doing them both at the same time has been proven to be tough, but I love it. I love running the business side, and I really, really love working with my clients, training them and seeing their results and that relationship that I have with them.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a rewarding feeling, running your own thing, right? You have that sense of ownership, and, you probably think back to your Orange Theory Fitness days when you first went in for your interview and your open mic, and you're probably just like, what am I doing here? Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
And now, fast forward where you're at now, you're kind of like thankful for those types of situations, because that's where you learned, you failed, you succeeded, and now you can take what you learned from those types of situations and apply that to where you're at now, and continue your success. To kind of wrap things up, I'm curious for myself, because it's something that I constantly have a struggle with, trying to find time for fitness and staying in shape and eating right. Are there any kind of health or fitness tips that you'd be able to share with somebody that work 40 hours, the 8 to 5 type of time, then still wants to find time or try to eat healthy? Anything that you might be able to share with us?
100%. It's going to be finding your routine, and there's going to be ways to do it. Let me see if I can get mine. So I have this like notebook, and I write down pretty much everything that I do in the day. And I do it at night before I go to bed. And that helps me get less anxiety, because now I know what I'm going to do the next day, right? I like write out, okay, this is my routine. And it's just it's a general outline, right? Like work out this time, get up at this time. Then I'm going to do all right, my goal is then to meditate for this amount of time, right? But I'm doing it in a way now where I try to pair it with things. It's called habit pairing, with things that I do automatically, right? Like, what do I always do when I get up? Go to the bathroom. Like that is 100% happening every day, regardless, right? Like you go pee or you go poop when you wake up, like it just happens. Yeah. So while I'm doing that, while I go to the bathroom in the morning, I'm going to meditate on the toilet for 5 minutes. So I'm already on the toilet. So now when I go to the bathroom, I also meditate, right? And obviously I flush the toilet. I don't just sit there in the smell, but like, you know what I mean? But it's like, normally what I do is I just sit there, I pull my pants up, and I just sit on top of the toilet lid, and I put my hands on my knees, and I just like sit there, and I just meditate. So it's like, I do my business. I don't just sit there like dick out. that'd be so funny. Oh my God. But I do my thing, and I just kind of sit there, and I just meditate 5 minutes. That's all it is. 5 minutes, clear my thoughts. And then I, go and brush my teeth, and I go from there, right? And my day goes on from there. But that's kind of how it goes. And I'm pairing these two things, that's something that is an automatic behavior with something that I'm trying to do. And that's, meditate and start my day that way. But yeah, just writing out your things, and consistency is going to be your best friend, because your body wants a consistent routine. So if you want to work out, what's going to be the best time for you? And it's probably going to be in the mornings, right? Before James and what's your daughter's name?
Amber.
Amber, that's right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. James and Amber, before they get up, right? You want to be able to, have your time, right? And you may
Right.
not have a lot of time in the day for Andrew, but there's one time in the day where you can, and that's your workout. That's your time, right?
Right.
And so find a time that's going to be best for you. And if that means getting up earlier, that might be, I know it's tough as a dad. I know I can't even like coach you on that part because that's like I'm not even there yet. But I will say that just what has helped clients in the past and what they've told me is just doing it in the morning before anyone else's day starts, and then having convenience as your number one friend. Home gym, 100%. If you have the ability to do it, like even if it's just a few dumbbells and a kettlebell and like a jump rope in your garage, right? It doesn't need to be something huge, right? It can be super, super simple. And you're going to be able to like find that consistent routine, because as a parent, that's like, I hear a lot of people on other podcasts talking about what they do. And it's like, if I didn't have a gym in my house, right? If I didn't have dumbbells or whatever in my house, I don't think I'd ever work out, because how do you get away? That 30 minutes of travel time, that's precious 30 minutes that you could be with your family. But if you can go into the garage, right? You live in a home or something like that.
Yep.
If you can go into the garage, lock the door, put on some music, and work out, dude, that's going to be your way to like Zen mode, right? You're going to be able to come out, be a little sweaty. And for me, I'm more patient. Like you said, your family's going to appreciate you for it. Like, damn, he gets up, he gets after it. Like, it's important.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like and it's tough to get up, right? It's the accountability piece. I think I started off the year well, with New Year's resolution, getting up early and doing that. I remember telling my wife, Marissa, like, I don't need to go to a gym. I can just go into the garage and, do my 20 or 30 minutes each day. That's all I need. I'm not trying to put up, 215 pounds on the bench press. I just need to stay in shape and keep healthy. You're right. The time it takes to actually get to a gym and being on the road. I think that I have a 24-hour fitness membership pass, and I don't know if I'm ever going to go back, to be honest with you.
I would cancel it,
but it's just a convenience factor thing. And, with the 2 kids at the house, and
I will be more than happy to send you some recommendations on equipment, that like essential at-home gym equipment, that it's like a bench that you can easily roll. Like you could get a Reebok deck, but you could get like all these things. You can go on like Facebook Marketplace, because people are going to start going back to the gym and they're going to want to get rid of all that equipment. So you're going to have all this extra equipment that people are wanting to sell, and you can now be like, right, well, I need that. I'm not going back to the gym, even if I can, because I don't have that time. But you can get a decent, a set of equipment. If you have $500, that's what you would spend in 2 years of gym memberships, plus maybe even more depending on where you're at. Instead of that, invest that in something you're going to be able to use for the rest of your life. Get a barbell, get some plates, get a bench, things like that. Eventually.
Funny story about the gym membership. So I signed up for 24-hour fitness when I was like 12. Well, actually I was 11. My dad said I was 12. So my monthly gym fee is $5 a month. And I've been grandfathered into all these like Super Sport 24s and stuff. So I'm probably never going to cancel it.
$5, yeah.
They probably see me on there and they're just like, oh gosh, we got to deal with this guy for another 50. But just from a convenience factor thing, being at home and sneaking off to get a quick workout in is always convenient. It is nice to the gym. I do miss the sauna and just kind of like detoxifying. I've even looked at like Costco, because they have like at home saunas, like the infrared type things. We'll start with the basic home gym equipment first before we buy
and I'll send you some stuff.
Sauna. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Brendon, for joining the podcast. I'm really glad we had a chance to sit down and talk a little bit about what you've been up to,
man.
and kind of your path and your journey. I definitely learned a lot from the conversation, and hopefully, our listeners will, get the same out of it. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Let's definitely do this again.
Sounds good, man. Take care. Talk to you later.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.